Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Chandelle's. And what Chandelle is a maneuver that you're going to have to conduct for your commercial check ride. But what that is specifically, it's a maximum performance climb where you're starting on one heading and ending on the reciprocal 180-degree heading. So it was invented by the French in World War I as a dogfighter maneuver. So I think that's kind of cool. So you get to do your own dogfighter maneuver. But basically what they had to do is while they were dogfighting with other aircraft, they had to get up and away from that aircraft that, say, was chasing them, shooting them, to avoid them, essentially. And whoever had the most performance during that maneuver typically had the advantage in a dogfight. So it was really important to be very, very good with this maneuver. Now, it's a little bit outdated now, so what we teach the students is to maintain your coordination, orientation, and your overall motor skills of flow through the aircraft, which a lot of the commercial maneuvers are based around. So for a more practical application of this, I had a buddy actually, he was flying into an airport that was like in a valley, and there was a mountain right in front of him. And so he couldn't make the landing, he was a little bit long, and he had to go around. And so he obviously couldn't go around straight. He had to perform a Chandelle so that he would avoid terrain. So it's a really good terrain avoidance maneuver if all else fails. Mm-hmm. So just keep that in mind. That's not the purpose, but that's more of a practical application of why you would use it.
Gotcha.
So basically what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to teach you how to do this maneuver from the first phase all the way to the last phase, and I'm just going to walk through it step by step with you. Mm-hmm. And so most references say that there are 2 phases. I like 3 phases, including the recovery as the third phase, because that's just as important as the other 2 phases. Mm-hmm. So before we even start the maneuver itself, we have to do our CHAPS checklist. So I know you remember this, but we'll just walk through it again. So first off, you're going to start with clearing turns to see and avoid other traffic, because we want to make sure that the area that we're doing this maneuver at is clear. We're then going to have our initial heading, our reciprocal heading, and then we're also going to have a 90-degree reference point, which is going to be the basis around which we do this maneuver. So what a friend of mine taught me actually is you have a 90-degree reference point, but since this is a maximum performance climb, you're going to be in a higher nose attitude, pitch attitude. So having something just above that reference point is really useful so that when you're doing it, you might not be able to see your initial reference point. Mm-hmm. So just keep that in mind. It's not necessary, but it can be helpful. Mm-hmm. So then we move on to our altitude. So we want to make sure that we're doing this maneuver above 1500 AGL, and that's the lowest we could possibly do it. Typically, you will start this maneuver from a lower altitude to climb up, and then you can perform other maneuvers that are, say, starting at a higher altitude. But so 1500 AGL, that's going to prevent you from doing this and putting yourself in a upset recovery, and you'll have enough time to recover and avoid maybe crashing to the ground of some kind and avoiding any other populated areas. It's basically just a safety margin. So from there, we'll talk about our place to land. Because you are starting this at a lower altitude, you're going to want to make sure that you always have somewhere to land in mind. If something were to go wrong, I'll be able to safely land the aircraft. And then starting out with this maneuver, you're going to be wings level, and you're going to be going at 105 knots, which is our max gross weight maneuvering speed. Mm-hmm. So the PIM actually says to keep it at 105, even if your maneuvering speed is, say, at 98, because you're lighter. The PIM still says, as well as the aircraft training guide, to start it at 105 knots. So that's what we'll do.
Gotcha.
So now, starting in the maneuver, you'll have the first phase, which is going to be constant bank changing pitch. So what that basically means for you is there are a few steps that will follow. Most of this is all simultaneously happening, but the first thing, if you were to assign a first step to something, is going to be rolling into a 30 degrees bank. Now, there are a couple common errors that go along with that, because when you're rolling into 30 degrees bank, if you're too shallow, you're also pitching up and adding power. So you could put us into an accelerated stall if you don't bank enough. Now what happens, and I see this quite a bit, is you overbank because the outside wing has further to travel than the inside wing. So if I was to go like that, it would cause more airflow and more lift on the outside wing, which is going to cause you to bank more. So just be cautious of that and make sure that you're staying on the 30 degrees of bank. Mm-hmm. Now, as you are pitching up, if you don't pitch up enough, or if you pitch up too much, if you don't pitch up enough, you're not maximizing your climb performance. If you don't pitch up enough, or if you pitch up too much, you're then going to put us into a potentially dangerous and hazardous stall. So we want to avoid that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go 30 degrees, then we're going to pitch up, and we're going to add power. Do you think there's a specific reason that we add our pitch in before we add in our power?
Maybe something to do with the stall?
Not exactly, no. So it's actually used for not redlining and overspeeding the prop, because this is more common in the warmer months, but it can happen in the colder months, where if you pitch up and you add in your power, you're not going to overspeed that prop, because typically in straight and level flight you need a higher RPM setting than typical if you were to be,
Gotcha.
So just keep that in mind. Now you're in your 30 degrees, you've added your pitch, and then you've added your power. Now you're coming to your 90 degree point. You should be just above your stall speed at your 90 degree point when you start in the second phase. So keep that in mind. Now, starting in the second phase, it's no longer constant bank changing pitch. It's now going to be constant pitch while you're changing your bank to meet that 180 degree point. So what that's going to look like for you is a typical good rule of thumb is for every 30 degrees of your heading change, you take out 10 degrees of bank. So 30, 60, 90, you should end up right on your 180 degree point.
Okay.
So there are a couple things to go along with that you need to keep in mind. It's an outside reference maneuver, so you want to be making sure that you're looking outside while you're doing the maneuver while referencing your instruments to make sure that you are smoothly taking out this bank. So keeping coordinated is a very important aspect of this maneuver. So I want you to make sure that you're always checking to see your rudder, because first off, even rolling into the maneuver, you're going to need right rudder to just stay coordinated. And then in the left chandelle, you're going to need left rudder initially, but then you'll also need right rudder to counteract the left turning tendencies, which might just pull your nose, which we want to stay coordinated. So keep that in mind. So you hit your 90 degree point, you're changing your bank. Now you're going to need more back pressure, and that's a common error, is to not have enough back pressure, because you get to your just above your stall speed and you stop pulling back. The nose is going to drop. So you want to make sure that you're still pulling back to keep yourself at that same airspeed so that you don't let the nose drop, because we want to maximize our performance. So we want to keep it just shy of 18 degrees, which 18 degrees is typically our stall pitch attitude.
Okay.
So as you've let it out, you have now reached the 180 degree point. One of the things that one of the common errors is letting the bank out too quickly, which is going to have you basically just eking your way all the way over to the 180 degree point, or not letting it out until right at the 180 degree point. You're just going to overshoot your point. So you want to make sure that you're slowly letting out that bank.
Okay.
So we've reached the third phase, which is now going to be your recovery. So what that's going to look like is your nose is going to be in high attitude, but you want to let the nose down while not losing any altitude. That's really key. So a lot of people will just let the nose drop, and at that point you're just losing altitude. It's a maximum performance climb. We don't want to be losing any altitude. So make sure that you're slowly letting that nose down, building up the airflow over our wings so that we can gain our airspeed back. So that is the 3 steps of the phases. So you have your constant bank, changing pitch. You have your constant pitch, changing bank, and then slowly letting the nose down so that you come back out straight and level.
Gotcha.
Sound good? Good. So there's one thing that I want to mention to you about that last little part. When you are rolling out, you're going to need, due to the left turning tendencies, you're going to need more right rudder when you're letting out that bank. And then in the right chandelle, so the left chandelle, you'll need more right rudder to keep yourself oriented. Whereas in the right chandelle, you're going to need less right rudder, still right rudder, but less so than in a left chandelle. So that is how you perform the maneuver. Now there are a couple hazards that we need to talk about, which would be disorientation. So disorientation can happen because this is an accelerated maneuver. You need to be cautious that you are not putting yourself in a hazardous attitude unintentionally. And if you are to do so, make sure you roll the wings level, adjust your pitch and power as needed, and finding the horizon so that you can safely continue flying, right? And then dividing attention is really important as well, because there's a lot going on at the same time, right? So you need to be aware of that and to continue flying the plane. It's aviate, navigate, and then communicate.
Gotcha.
So aviate always comes first, and you need to be referencing outside, you need to be looking inside, but mainly outside. Just make sure that you're coordinated and that you're doing everything super smoothly, okay? So now you are maneuvering at low altitudes typically when you begin this maneuver, so you need to be aware of controlled flight into terrain as well as traffic avoidance, but mainly for the low altitudes, it's controlled flight into terrain. So be aware of your orientation of your aircraft with the surroundings, okay? So that's really important. Make sure you're familiar with where we're conducting this maneuver. Now, I know you're familiar with the practice areas, so just be aware of what practice area you're in, what are potential terrain hazards that you could run into potentially.
Okay.
So then, as I said already, collision avoidance, making sure that you're always looking for traffic. Your eyes should be, for the most part, outside. Okay? So I have a couple questions for you, a little recap. So do you remember what airspeed we do this maneuver at?
I think at 105.
Yeah, the starting is going to be 105, and then just above your stall speed.
Okay.
So can you tell me what a common error is when you're initially rolling into your bank?
Overbanking?
Yeah, it would be overbanking or underbanking.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So make sure that you're careful about that. And then let's see. During the second phase, what is so in the first phase, it's constant bank changing pitch. What's the second aspect?
Constant pitch changing bank?
That's right. Do you remember how we divide up that second phase typically?
10 degrees for every 30 degrees heading.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Good. So basically, I really enjoy this maneuver. It's my favorite maneuver. I always treat it like I'm an actual fighter pilot, avoiding other aircraft. But make sure that it's constant bank, changing pitch for your first phase. Second phase is going to be constant pitch, changing bank. And your third phase, slowly letting that nose down to regain that airspeed, not losing any altitude. Okay? Do you have any questions for me?
No, I don't think I have any questions for you.
Great.
Cool.
Let's go fly.